LeBron James's son, Bronny James, who had previously decided to enter the transfer portal in college, is now also hedging his bets and has entered the NBA draft. He can still get out of that, but he's going to meet with some teams. He's going to work out with some teams, and then he's going to make his decision. The conspiracy theories are flying right now, Bill. What do you think of this?
As you know, I tend toward, I don't know about conspiracy theories, but aliens and Bigfoot. So I'll let my mind roam. All right. My first thought is I'm just bummed out for the young man. And you're right. There's no guarantee he's actually going to enter or try to enter the NBA. He can change his mind based on a bunch of factors. So we've talked about this before. I live in LA, where obviously Bronny currently lives and plays. And a multitude of scouts, including some high-level executives who are the ones that are the ultimate decision makers or close to it for their respective teams in their draft rooms, have come through LA in the last year to scout USC and to a large degree to get a look at Bronny. So it's a lot of people, John. I have not talked to a single NBA person who has scouted Bronny in person. As you know, that's not just going to games, it's going to practice, it's trying to be around the program, who thinks that he is an NBA player by any stretch of the imagination at this point of his career. They think that he could be a really maybe good, interesting, maybe NBA player if he's in college 2, they really say 3 years. So I know we have to unpack all of this. My first worry is that this is LeBron pulling the strings, that some of those conspiracy theories about LeBron's desire to play with his son sooner rather than later are pushing this young man to a place where he is not going to succeed. Let me add this. I like LeBron. LeBron's amazing. There's still a lot of jealousy around the NBA, I think, toward LeBron James. I think a lot of just players are jealous of LeBron and his stature. I don't think he connects with guys socially the way that Kobe did, in a different way, or AI even, or certainly Jordan. I'm also worried that if Bronny's out there, he's just going to get abused by people who want to embarrass him because they couldn't embarrass his father. I'm worried about the kid.
On the merits, he's not ready. He's 19 years old. He is averaging just shy of 5 points per game at USC. Just about 2 assists, just a little less than 3 rebounds. He's not even playing 20 minutes, just under 20 minutes. He's shooting 36% from the floor and 26% from 3. If his name was anything else, we would not be discussing this. However, his last name is James and his dad is LeBron. Now, the other day, LeBron was asked about this before we knew that he was declaring for the NBA draft, when it was just, hey, he's going to enter the transfer portal. It's not really working out at USC. And he had this to say.
Well, I don't know where it came from, but at the end of the day, Bronny's his own man, and he has some tough decisions to make. Yeah. And when he's ready to make those decisions, he'll let us all know. But as his family, we're going to support whatever he does.
All right. So yesterday, Ashley and I talked about this, and I was like, you know what? That's awesome. LeBron's being a great dad. You know, whatever my kid decides, I'm going to support him. Clearly, he knew this was in the works.
You felt so. Yeah, look, on the other side of this, and I don't know what the sort of plan is, right? But if you are another team and you are told, wink, wink, secret signal, homing pigeon from Rich Paul, if you draft Bronny, LeBron will come. Or if you draft Bronny, there's a really good chance LeBron will come. And you're the Memphis Grizzlies, you're the New York Knicks. There's a lot of you're the Thunder. There's a lot of teams where I think you might just say to hell, especially a team like the Thunder, John, who have so many picks down the road and can't use them all.
Sure.
It might, which by the way, good for those teams. Maybe interesting for LeBron if you really believe he'll leave $50+ million on the table. He's got a player
51
option this summer. 51. Now the thing is, $51 million is a lot of money, and LeBron's always been about you got to make the
writer
money.
On vacation on the road money.
That is roses at your feet when you leave the hotel room money. But he doesn't actually need the money, right? It's not as if. So if he just chooses that he wants to play with his kid over $51 million, LeBron's going to be fine. He's not going to have to sell an island or a house. So it's an interesting calculus for some of those other teams. And here's the other question. Let's just be honest, because I'm not supposed to say this because everybody now is afraid of Rich Paul. What happens if Rich Paul is LeBron's friend and agent and runs the agency that LeBron is represented by, but will really run if he's not an NBA owner at some point? What happens if Rich Paul gives that indication and there was a misunderstanding? What if you draft Bronny thinking you're getting LeBron and LeBron doesn't show up? There's a lot that's going to play out between now and the draft involving this young man.
Well, this is why I said the conspiracy theories abound, because now all of a sudden, you heard the sound, right? This was just a day or two ago. It didn't happen overnight. Like last night or this morning, Bronny got up on his own. He's like, you know what I'm doing? Declaring for the draft. And I didn't run it by my dad. Of course, LeBron knew that this was coming, right? So LeBron was like, "Oh, I don't even know where that came from. I just want my son to, be a kid and he's his own man and make his own decisions." Obviously, LeBron knew that this was coming. But so now people are wondering, because as you were speculating, if you do draft Bronny, does that mean you're getting a 2-for-1? Which in turn means, if you're so inclined to continue down this rabbit hole, that LeBron is potentially like pretty Machiavellian here and is using his son as leverage. Then the question becomes, like, how much leverage does Bronny actually give him? So on the one hand, I go, all right, this offseason, we've discussed this. The Lakers will have 3 draft picks that they can move to potentially upgrade the team. We've floated some names like Donovan Mitchell, maybe Trae Young, but it looks like they're in a spot to upgrade the team. They didn't do anything at the trade deadline, and obviously LeBron wasn't thrilled about that. This could be a, hey, Lakers, get your act together thing. Otherwise, I might go somewhere if my kid gets drafted.
So I think there's 3 things. You're right, and I'm with you. There are 3 things that are playing out here, and I don't know which LeBron and or his son rank the highest. One is Bronny's NBA career. Presumably that should be the only factor. It's not. So, and as we've discussed, he doesn't really have an NBA career if his name is not James right now.
Would not be drafted.
Would not be, not even a second-round pick. He is not an NBA player at this. Now, there are plenty of guys who were not NBA players after their freshman year in college or their sophomore year in college who got there. It's not easy, but it's not as if it's an impossible road. It's just easier if your name isn't James. All right. The second thing is the idea that maybe they truly, everything else aside, or to a degree, just want to play together. Maybe that's a real thing. And I have a son who, like me, will never play in the NBA, but he's 11. I can relate to the idea that you will do things for your kids and make sacrifices or change up your life if you think there's a connection you can have with them. So maybe LeBron James really just is to hell with it. I'm going to play with my kid, and I can feel my body starting to feel like it's 40 and not 30, and that's the priority. And then the third thing is, is whatever the hell LeBron James actually wants, whether he's leveraging the Lakers or John, the guy is a ring chaser, and not in a bad way. I'm sure he's aware of his legacy. If he doesn't think the Lakers are good enough, there is a world where he could use the idea of Bronny by telling only a select team or two, draft Bronny and I'll show up. And it gives LeBron an excuse, right? Bronny gets drafted by the Thunder. I'm just making this up in the first round. And Bron was like, well, I love Bronny, so I'm going to go play with him. Added benefit, I have a much better chance as LeBron James to win a ring in Oklahoma City than I do in LA. And no one's going to kill me or crucify me or make fun of me because I did it for the love of my kid. And not I went to Oklahoma City and left the Lakers because we weren't good enough. I think all of that you have to sort of balance in what the equation actually is.
It's so wild. Like everything that you just outlined there as a possibility, people are going to be digging in and dining out on this forever. I mean, I feel like one of those cork boards with the red strings connecting by push pins.
Photos of people in black and white from the newspaper.
I mean, because there's so many different ways you can go about this. All right. Aside from like the fact that he's potentially using his child as leverage either for the Lakers or another team, it's hard for me to imagine that he's going to pass up $51 million because you are right. LeBron's going to be fine no matter what he does. And if he did leave, he's going to get paid anyway. Not $51 million, but he'd get a healthy salary. But $51 million is still a lot of money, even to somebody like LeBron. Let's just say for the sake of argument that this is a real possibility and that LeBron has deployed Bronny as sleeper agent James, right? And he's using him, he's dangling him out there as bait for another team. How high because you mentioned the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they do have, I think, like 27 picks in the next however many years. Yeah. How high do you think a team would potentially take a guy who, if his last name wasn't James, would not be drafted at all? I mean, like a second round pick, if you're getting LeBron is one thing. Are you dipping into the first rounders?
Yes. So I just did Tankathon, right? The site where it'll just simulate the draft for you. So here's a single simulation. You're not doing any of the top 6, 7 picks. So the Spurs in this simulation would have 1 and 7. San Antonio's not on the verge of a championship. It doesn't fit. Memphis
it is a bad draft, though.
It is a bad draft. That's the other thing. You're right. It is a historically bad. Memphis at 8. You're the Grizzlies. Things have gone horribly wrong this year. Everybody's injured. Ja Morant's coming back. You felt like you had a chance to break through a couple years ago, and you lost to the Warriors. Last year, yeah. Took my kid to that
Last year they were good. 2 years ago they lost to the Warriors, right? Yeah.
LeBron is still playing like a top. Did you see Dwayne Wade the other day said that this is the best he's ever seen LeBron James? I mean, he's ever seen LeBron for a variety of reasons I don't buy, but LeBron is still playing at a super high level. So you're not just selling tickets. So Memphis at 8. I don't think the Rockets are good enough, but they're at 10 here. And then the Thunder at 12. And New Orleans from LA in this tankathon at 14. Wow. In every one of those cases, Memphis, I'll do 3 of them. Memphis, the Thunder, and the Pelicans. I think you can convince yourself, if you're those teams, that if we add LeBron James, we are good enough to go to another level. And I think we have agreed on this show, either we think each of those teams are already there or can go to that level if they add a piece.
You're starting to sell me on this, because at first I'm like, come on, this is ridiculous. Who would take a chance on using a first round pick on Bronny? Yeah, if it's a 2-for-1 and you're absolutely certain that LeBron is coming, then you're essentially drafting LeBron, then fine. But now all of a sudden, especially in a weak draft, those teams that you just outlined, Memphis last year was a 2 seed. They ended up losing to the Lakers. And then this year is a completely lost year, right? Ja was suspended to start. Then everybody and their mom was hurt. Now they're closing out the season with the Jacksons, Jaren Jackson Jr. and Gigi Jackson, and like 3 guys that they got out of the G League. It's just like a whole team of two-way contracts. The Pelicans are a very intriguing team for all the reasons that we've outlined on this podcast, but clearly are still a level below those real championship contenders. I think LeBron super levels them up. And then the Thunder, as you know, I'm extremely, extremely high on their young. And now all of a sudden you bring in a veteran presence. I do wonder though, with the Thunder, that's where I'm like, maybe not, just because yes, they have 27 picks over the 7 years. So if any team can afford to just burn a draft pick, even a first rounder, it would be the Thunder. But do you want to if you add LeBron, it's LeBron's team. I don't care who's on it. You've got a young, good thing going on. You kind of would change the chemistry there.
So from their perspective, I don't know. I'll say this. Can I, your board that you put together with the strings and the yarn, and let me add a part. So a couple things. One, it is just believed, it is known around the NBA that the Thunder are outstanding at young player development. That's been true for a long time, like the way Sam Presti uses his G League team and all the things that they do. So if you're LeBron and you are concerned about giving Bronny the best chance, probably knowing deep somewhere in your heart that maybe he should still be in college at some university, the Thunder are plays to do a good job developing young players. But also on your board, this would put into a different context when LeBron and JJ Redick on that podcast just started singing the praises of Diagonal the other day. Did you see this? Where they're like, LeBron, he's so good. Because he doesn't say anything ever, LeBron, without a purpose. Everything he said is strategic. Everything is, when he said it, I thought, that's weird. That's really nice. But there's a lot of people you can pray, like that. And he is a good coach. But so I'm with you on maybe the Thunder don't. But if you're the Thunder, the other thing is, Presti has already operated with 3 former stars that he didn't really keep on to the right way. And they made a finals, but they lost to LeBron when they had Durant, Westbrook, and Harden all on the same team. And not just those guys. There's a good young core. So maybe he's more inclined to be riskier with his culture than we might think, because he does know that as much as he's great at what he does, it is Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. No offense, Oklahoma City. I lived there when I was a kid. But it's not an easy place to hold on to stars, right? You have to do everything right. And LeBron brings a shine wherever he goes. So maybe I remember Neil O'Shea, who's not doing anything now, but when he was when he was the guy with the Clippers, he told me and a bunch of other people that when they interviewed LeBron before the decision, the Clippers interviewed LeBron before the decision. They knew the Clippers, they couldn't land LeBron. They were already told, as I understand it, that they could not land LeBron. But Neil O'Shea's plan, then the GM was, if LeBron comes in, it just offers a shine, and the next cycle, it'll be easier to convince some superstar to actually come here if there aren't many options for them like there are LeBron, because LeBron James is LeBron James. And it worked with Chris Paul. So I also think there's a world where if you're Presti, it just makes it easier to sell the guys you already have on staying in Oklahoma City because LeBron was here. And if it's good enough for LeBron, it can be good enough for you.
I mean, it's damning with faint praise, especially on the Clippers end, because you're talking about the Clippers in the same breath as you're talking about the Thunder. The Clippers are in Los Angeles. Los Angeles is in and of itself a selling. I get what you're talking about.
They were owned by a horrible owner.
Yes,
an
absolutely horrendous human being whose name we shall not mention on this
pariah organization at the time.
But I am saying that LA is a selling point. It's the off-season capital of the NBA. Everybody just basically like lives here in the off-season.
Right.
Oklahoma City is a much harder sell. Although part of me goes, if you were going to shuttle Bronny back and forth from your G League team and you wanted to like give him a little bit of air cover so that he isn't like absolutely overwhelmed by the media presence, for sure the national media would descend upon Oklahoma City, but it wouldn't be the same crush as if he ended up in Los Angeles, New York, Philly, Boston, some city like that. Memphis, same deal. It would be a little bit less intense.
That's a great point. I'll add and I like these guys, but the Thunder's public relations, media relations staff operate as much like an NFL operation as any team in the NBA outside of the Heat. They're super guarded, and I like him, Matt, but it's true. They're over the top. I mean, they're nice about it, but it's just, I can remember back in the day being able to walk down the tunnel and just walk out with Kevin Durant, right? When he was young. That has gone away. And so it also is just a very protective culture, to your point, not just how small the media is, but if you're a random reporter there and you ask a legitimate question they don't like, you get frozen out for 3 weeks. So it's a great spot.
My former coworker, Brian Curtis, who's a sports media columnist. He's awesome. He wrote a fantastic story about exactly what you're talking about.
I missed it.
Years ago, back when I was at that place, he wrote an awesome story about what it's like to be a media member covering Oklahoma City and how it's like an odd disconnect between the market size and how intense and how intensely protective the team is about that whole bit. But I love now how we came into this. I came into it going, this is absurd. Bronny has to go back to college. Why are we even discussing this too? I'm pretty sure LeBron's going to Oklahoma City. I think we just broke news.
We did it.